day. Welcome back to Young Farmer. I am your host, Tashlin Lowe, where we sit down and interview young farmers who's taking the farming industry by storm. Today, we are introduced to Antoinette Molopo, who is a 22-year-old farmer who has studied BCom in Business Innovation. Antoinette, welcome. Please do tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much, Miss Lowe. Thank you for having me. My name is Molopo Antoinette. As she has already mentioned, I'm a 22-year-old farmer all the way from Limpopo, and I've studied BCom in Business Innovation and Entrepreneurship. And yeah, thank you for having me.
Lovely. We are very excited to sit down and talk to you and get to know more about the farming industry. So we're going to jump into it right away because I know people are very curious and excited to hear what you have to say today. And I know that you are 22 in the farming industry. Being a female in the space, very amazing. Congratulations for that.
Thank you so much.
But what made you go into farming?
What made me go into farming? I don't think I had a choice. I just had to go in. I had to be in farming because growing up, I worked closely with my dad. I mean, he was also into animal production. And now when I'm older, people are always like, hey, your dad used to bother you. You'd be following sheep around during the day and stuff. And I'm like, I really didn't mind because I was enjoying it. So it's been a generational thing. And I hosted the ARC the other day, Agricultural Research Council, and they were like, they asked the history about like farming in the family and everything. And I explained that even before my dad, my grandmother, my paternal grandmother was also farming, because my mom, when she got married into the family, she's like, I was shocked to see women milking cows because it was wild.
Of course.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, so that's where it comes from, because some of the things I didn't know because they came before I was there, but they used to like plow with cows. So those kind of like old school methods they would use. My grandmother was quite feisty, God rest her soul. And then my dad also came into the picture. He was the teacher, then became principal, but he was always like in the farm every day after work and would work together. And when I was pursuing business, I saw that, okay, let me just go into farming. Already I have experience, I know a lot of stuff, and let's get into it and see how it goes.
Lovely, very interesting. So you've been in the farming industry from a young age.
Yeah.
And obviously you have studied BCom as well at AFDA, so in business
innovation and entrepreneurship. Yes.
Lovely. So choosing that subject and going into that field, was farming always at the back of your mind?
So when it comes to school, I initially didn't even want to go to school because after my dad passed away, I wanted to like pursue a business immediately. So what happened was he passed away when I was in grade 8, and then when I was in grade 9, my siblings, some of them were reading a lot, right? So I took one of my brother's book, my brother Lucky, and before Donald Trump even became president of the United States, I even had to check the cover at some point because I'm like, who is this guy who's saying all these things? Like, I looked at him, I'm like, what?
Who are you?
But yeah, I took that book. My brother had bought it. I even like found, I don't remember if it was 50 rands or 200 rands. In high school, that was a lot of money.
Yes,
I found it in the
was.
book. But yeah, I started reading books, I started reading up on business there, and I started making business plans about how I'm going to take over the farm. But at that time, I think I was still very young, and there was only so much I can do. So eventually I just put it off, focused on other things, like still in business though, still reading, still learning, engaging with people my entire high school. And you know, at that time there was this thing that education isn't that important.
Yes.
We need to hustle and everything. So I also got into that culture. I even didn't want to go to school, but after COVID hit, because there was money that was made, like the comfort was there, the success kind of like came through, even like maybe through other people who I was engaging with, so everything was proper. But after COVID, like most of us had to go back to the drawing board,
of course,
which we did. And I was like, okay, while I'm still like checking out what I'm going to do, let me go to school, right? And then I did. I enrolled at AFDA. In high school when I was in Kelvin, I was actually like a photographer. So we had this thing called a club. So when they'd go clubbing and everything in high school, I was taking pictures and making money. Like I'd make 2K in a day. That was a lot of money.
So you
then.
always had the hustler spirit inside of you.
And when I enrolled it after, it was that thing of I wanna, do the film thing since I'd done it in high school, so let's see how it goes. But I saw the prospectus and I saw the course. It actually took me time to decide between motion picture, because it deals with your directing, your cinematography and stuff. I don't know, because I didn't actually pursue it, but I saw the BCom and it was very interesting. It has marketing and sales, it has project management, it has business strategy, which I majored in. It also has startup finance, UI UX. Now I think they changed the name into something like more tech based and everything, but that's where you learn about like all the innovations that exist, all the agri-techs and everything. And then I was like, okay, interesting. And then in my first year, I enrolled in the Milk and Mutsipe competition, whatever, because I was just trying to find opportunities. School was still boring at that time. But eventually I realized the importance of education. I'll be begging more degrees and honors and PhDs.
Yes, of course, definitely. And also for our listeners that can hear, it ties in with farming, because you wouldn't necessarily think that you need an education for farming.
You do.
But going into the space and studying what you studied in business, it ties in, because now you get to run your own thing, manage it properly. So that's very inspirational. And then tell me, who was your biggest inspiration? I know you did say that farming was in the business, so it tied down from your grandparents all the way down to your father. But if you can sit back and think, who was the biggest inspiration for you to actually enter farming?
No one.
Really?
No one. I didn't look at anyone and go like, this person is doing 1, 2, 3, I need to go in. I just knew that if I'm going to explore business models, already I know farming. I've done this thing, and
Smart.
Let me see how it goes. Thinking.
Nice. No, I hear you.
Yeah.
You incorporated school with skills, and you said, this is how we're going to make a living. Very smart. And then tell me, so with farming, was it something that someone taught you, or how did you get into the space? Did you have to go to school for it and learn about it, or was it something that came naturally because you were always in the space, and who taught you about it?
All right. So like I explained that for me, farming has always been in the business, and I just knew that it's something that I really like. Like I really, really do enjoy it. So when the time came that I have to go in, or when I was seeking opportunities and I went into the space, I just incorporated my business skills that I was learning from school and opportunities that were available, and my experience from when I was still young. But I did have like quite a few mentors in my journey. Number one being Mr. Luna Chinonyel Obioha, who was my lecturer at Cape Town. He actually helped me with a lot of things, because at that time, like I mentioned, that with COVID a lot of things had happened, and I rolled into this course. Already the emotions are not proper. We've lost a lot of money. So much has happened. Business has been shaky for everyone, not only us, millionaires, billionaires, trillionaires, and everything. So it was a tough time to be in business at that time, but he genuinely understood, because he's from Nigeria, but he had also had experience in business not working out. He had tried farming in Nigeria also, so we talk about those things and everything. And then I had to transfer campuses, but when I came here we spoke, and whenever I'd need anything I'd email him, and even now we do still talk. So he was the first person to mentor me, and he explained how mentorship is important. And right now I'm pursuing mentorship with a farmer from my area, from Burgersford. I don't know if I should say his name, because I'm about to say what he does, but he just backed 14 million rands in farming. So I don't want to say his name.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, but he's very inspirational, because Burgersford is only 60 kilometers away from my house.
Oh, lovely.
And the mentorship right now, we're still exploring. I told him that I'll text him tomorrow so we can finalize everything, because I'm busy. So I can't really like speak more on that, but that's where I'm exploring mentorship around. And he's been begging awards, but he got 14 million after 10 years of being
so there
in
definitely
farming.
is money in farming.
But can you imagine how long 10 years is?
It's very long.
Yeah, because you're gonna need to buy a shirt sometime, but you have to buy fertilizer with that money instead of buying a shirt, you know?
Yeah, no.
So it's crazy.
Speaking of money, because we're already on that topic, how did you acquire the necessary resources in order for you to get the land, the resources that you need to start farming?
I haven't acquired anything, my love. I haven't acquired any like form of resources or funding. Everything that I do is like from my family, from my pocket, and everything else in between. It's isn't it, I told you my dad used to farm, so he left a portion of land. And from my understanding and my knowledge in business, I knew that in farming, in order for you to get recognition, but in every other field in business, you need to at least like have done certain things, or you need to be like working.
Definitely. Definitely.
You need to be like working, and you need to build your portfolio from that, because even if you're doing UI UX, you need to like be, you know. So I didn't acquire all of those things, but right now I'm working closely with like a lot of people. I'm done with school. I'm pursuing this thing full time, and I'm just sourcing opportunities wherever I can get them. And when I get them, I will definitely mention.
Lovely. Also, congratulations on finishing school and also pursuing this at the same time.
Yeah.
So obviously starting out, it was a small business to begin with, but how did you end up supplying brands or businesses rather, such as Pick and Pay, Spa in your area? How did you get into that?
Okay, so in farming, we encourage you to just start. Number one, we encourage you to just like start with whatever you have, because you can never say that it's a small business. If like for someone 1 hectare might be a small business, but if 1 hectare can fit 10,000 heads of cabbage, that can make you like more than 100k. So it's not necessarily that it was a small thing, it's just that it's not as commercial. But if you do have the produce, for me, what I did was just no one told me what to do. I just approached formal markets and I was like, I have this produce, here it is, look at it and check it out and see if you can buy it. They were really interested, and sometimes you're going to knock at doors and no one will answer.
True.
And I remember Vincent Van Staden, who was my my tutor in Cape Town. Him and Luna, my mentor, who I already mentioned, they were like, in my first year, they were like, the worst thing anyone can ever say to you is no when you ask for something. There's nothing else that's going to happen to you except for no. And if someone said no, you can just move on, and explore like other opportunities. So that's always been my mindset. Bravery is very important in farming or in any other business. So I just go in and I tell them that I have this produce, let's do this and this and that. And because they're like local formal markets that I'm approaching, they always take my produce. Some of them sometimes need to like test the quality and whatever, but most of the time they'll be like, okay, your produce is good, give us this many thingies in this many time frame and whatever. And like you saying, as a small business sometimes and if you have the hectare that I mentioned, you can't always like meet the demand, because let's say maybe you're growing spinach and they're saying we want 300 bundles every 2 days or every 3 weeks. That's a lot, So you need to like kind of keep up and stuff like that. But yeah, formal markets are easy, and as you do scale up, there will be like more and more regulations, more and more quality testings. Yeah, but it's just how it is. You just have to fight in this thing.
Of course.
Yeah.
And then obviously hearing from what you're saying, it can be discouraging if you're starting out and you go and approach these brands and they do give you a no. Being a young entrepreneur and also a young farmer, if you were to say to any young farmer starting out, how do you deal with the mental let me not say baggage, but the mental capacity that you also need to have? And when they say no, or when your produce is not looking as good as it needs to be, how do you then manage with all of that?
How I deal with it, there isn't an answer because each experience is different. It gets tough sometimes you get better, but you're resilient. You have to be resilient because it might take a while. Might take 20 years.
That is
you
true.
need to be really resilient, and you need to be sure that this is what you want. Have to fight it. I don't really like saying passion, because passion can only take you so far. There will be a time where like you're passionate about this thing, but it's very hard for you to keep going, wake up tomorrow and irrigate and everything. But also having a good support system is very important. Having a team, if you can afford to have one, is also very important, because if I'm not feeling well today as the CEO, or my mental health is down bad and I'm stressed by that 5 million rand opportunity I missed because of not having water rights or whatever, I'm not going to be okay. But maybe other people in the team are doing well and they are able to carry it. So AFDA has taught me the importance of working in groups. It was not always lovely, but it was something that was very important for us to learn, because no man is an island. We need to balance each other out.
Definitely.
So you need my family is also very supportive. I mean, they also understand that my dad used to do this thing and everything. Some of my siblings have tried it, but hey, my resilience, I'm sorry to say this, guys, but it's over. Yeah, but my resilience, I mean, I don't know. Even in my third year, when I was done with school, I got an award for being the most persistent.
Wow.
because I just keep going. Like you just have to keep going. You have to keep going, and it's okay to take breaks. If your mental health is not okay, if you're not feeling well, it's okay to take a break. Even if it's 2 months, it's okay. It's okay. You'll always come back, because your mental health is important. You need to show up every day, and if you're not fine mentally, then you won't be able to deliver. So yeah.
Definitely, I really love that. And thank you so much for also sharing that, because I think sometimes when people want to start businesses, they also forget that as much as you need capital, you also need to be in the right mental state and then continue with that. But I know you did say it was in your family, but how did you start? What was the beginning stages? How did you get into it? In case there's a person who wants to join farming, what was the first step you took?
So let me start here. As Black people, sometimes when we say farming has been in our family for a long time, that doesn't mean that the farming that was in the family was profitable, or the scaling was good enough, or the understanding of what needs to be done was good enough. But it's like the exposure that was there, but lack of information, because I come from Rasikukune in Limpopo. So there, I remember when Thabo Mbeki was still president of the country, it was deemed to be the poorest district in the entire country. Can you imagine how bad the poverty must be? So even if people are trying to farm and everything, the resources are not always there, the knowledge is not always there, all those things are like not always there. But how I was able to start is that we had this like plot of land that they were working on. And I feel like if they had like the right information and everything else in between, it could have been a thing where I would have maybe found 100 hectares of land instead of one. And that's what we're trying to work on now, to make this a generational thing that we can pass down to our children, and it's wealth, But even the exposure was good. I'm grateful for that, because I'm here now, and I'm sure like the knowledge that I have and everything is because of that. But the land that my dad had at that time was 1.1, so I used that. I didn't spend any money on land, and then water was also available at the farm. We have a borehole, so farming is quite expensive, but I had like a few resources that were already available, so it wasn't that bad. I just needed to have money for seedlings, to have money for a tractor, because both his tractors are broken. So I needed to pay a tractor, employees, those kind of things. And that's money that like I did other businesses on the side to raise and, put into that and see how it goes. And what I told you earlier is that sometimes it's more for your portfolio.
True.
It's more for you to be in certain databases for your motivation, even if it's small, even if it's like 300 square meters or whatever. It's still enough. You don't have to have 100 hectares because it's hectic. You need to learn so many things, especially if you didn't study this thing, because it gets strict. This is food that people are going to eat, so it really needs you to know what you're doing. And as you just start working and focus on whatever you have, what you have is good enough. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
No, it really does. It really does. And it gives a real insight onto how you can start where you started, and that you don't need to start with a lot and you can build yourself
if
up.
you have a lot, please start with a lot. Because the more you
That
grow,
would
the
work.
more money you make.
That would work.
If you have a lot, start with a lot. Because we also need to stop glorifying this thing of small businesses, startups and everything. If you have,
Why not?
go all in, risk it all. If you lose, you lose. But
true.
for me, I like people who are willing to go big. So if you have a lot, start with a lot, because the more you grow, the more money you make. And what I like about crop production is that the learning cycle is very small.
Yes.
So if I plant spinach this term or whatever and I attempt to do it, after this entire season I've failed, but I have 3 more seasons to go. So the learning, I can learn the next season, the next season, and the other season. So go big if you want, if you can, if you have the resources.
And then I am very curious, when you started up, were you manually, physically involved in it, or do you have to start up with a team, a tractor, or do you think it is manageable even to go manually work with everything and then go to your stores and the brands and ask them to work with you? Or would you suggest that you do start out with a team, a tractor and everything?
Okay, so as I've mentioned that I majored in business strategy, right? So what we would do at AFDA in our teams was that we'd have certain rules assigned to us, and then business strategy would oversee all of them. So that's what I'd normally do, right? And I really value the importance of a team, right? I really value teamwork. I value teams, but it just has to do with you. I feel like most of the time all of us come through and come with this blueprint that you must do 1 2 3, must do 1 2 3. It hardly works like that, because even with your experience, I might give you a blueprint, but you might come across people who are different from the people I've come across with in my journey. And it's all about you. It's you against you in business. No one else, everybody else, because all the decisions at the end of the day come down Moana, And in terms of having a team, when I started, yes, my mom is in Limpopo, so she was the one overseeing the operations, but there was employees, because I was still in school at that time in 2022. But in December, that's when we were selling, and I was able to be home. My employees even took a break. I was doing the harvesting, the selling, the formal markets approach, the everything. I don't mind doing everything. I'm really hands-on. I'm always all over the place. My mind can't focus on one thing. So it helps in entrepreneurship. I'm all over the place and I'm able to do this and this and that. But if you can afford a team, please have a team, because it's going to help you, and you're going to have people who are more knowledgeable than you, because they only focus on that. And as an entrepreneur, you focus on so many things.
True.
You forget some things get but if someone deals with marketing only, they deal with marketing, nothing else. If someone deals with your digital stuff, like your UI UX, or your all your digitals, they deal with that. Your graphic design, they deal with that, and that's what they know. I might know all those things, but because you spend so much time on this thing, you know it more than I do. So it's very, very, very important to have a team, because I really mentioned this. It's going to pick you up. It's important to have a team. Yeah.
Definitely. And then tell me, what type of challenges did you face being a young farmer? And not just only being a young farmer, but also being a female in the farming space. What were the challenges that you faced?
So far, there's really a lot of support for female farmers, because I've heard like certain guys in certain places complain about maybe how females sometimes get funded before they do. And it's understandable, because if the challenges that we face, I feel like they're much greater, because as women, sometimes people tend to say we are emotional. Not necessarily that we're emotional, it's just that we come across situations that are difficult because of men. This is a very male dominated industry, and people will tend to take advantage of you. But I think what's very important is that you stand your ground, and if an opportunity presents itself and someone is saying no, but I need to get this in return, there will be another opportunity. That just let it slide. If you have to report someone, please do it. If you have to, because this is very serious and it's something that people hardly speak about. I'm Betty, I'm from Limpopo. I watched Skim Sam when I was young. I don't know if anyone remembers, but there was a thing where there's Sonti and Lahasa, whatever, business and stuff, and a woman and a man coming together into business, and the man being some type of way, it like kind of, dilutes the potential of maybe that woman, the potential that she could have had, how far she could have gone in her career. And so when you come across those situations as a woman, just stand back and remove yourself, stand your ground, because I've had this experience. And what's nice about it is that after I was like, nah, really? And eventually, after 2 months, the guy called again and he was like, no, but I still need the produce. I'm like, now you sold out, so there's nothing I can do, isn't it? You are being weird and stuff, and now it's like this. So it's very important, because men will see you as an object sometimes, and not as an entrepreneur. Or they'll feel like, I don't know what they think, but yeah.
It's very nice that you could highlight some of those things, because me sitting as a female, I would have never thought that could have been one of the challenges you face as a female farmer, and it's a very sad case that we're living in. But if you could give advice to a young female farmer, or just someone who wants to start farming and who is a female, what type of advice would you give them?
Just be brave and confident. That's all. Be brave and confident. Nothing else. Because the other things, I'm going to go into technicals and I'm going to talk a lot and everything. But if you're brave and confident, you are able to take on whatever challenge that comes through your way. Whether you've gotten this level of advice, mentorship, or whatever. Stand your ground. Know what you want. Keep fighting. Keep going. Opportunities are a lot. They are a lot. You keep going. Keep looking for more. If this door is closed, keep going, and just never compromise yourself, because for us women, I don't think we're men like that, that we can, just do these things.
True. Very beautiful.
Yeah.
And then tell me, on your farm, what type of crops do you produce?
Right, so we have chilies, a variety of chilies. I have habanero, curry chili, jalapeno, and we might actually grow more as time goes on. And then we do grow tomato, the oval ones and the round ones. And then we also have cabbage, spinach, beetroot, and pepper. But the pepper market is quite shaky, so most of the time is the one that we take to formal markets, because it's not really a staple in Limpopo. Because I spoke to someone and they were saying in KZN a lot of people use green pepper, but for us in Limpopo, green salad once in a while and everything. So because sometimes we do sell to households or to street vendors, and they also have to cater to the market that is around, so if we producing these things, they have to buy it and take them to the market. Even the formal markets, we still have to sell to those households. So green pepper doesn't really sell that well, but tomato sells because we put it in everything. I mean, we eat morogo in Limpopo, so you put it in there. Morogo is just like white leaves. Yeah. And then we have your gravy, put it in meat and everything, chilies, everybody eats chili, your spinach and your beetroot. Oh, they love beetroot.
Really?
They really do, because I didn't even like growing it. I remember one December I didn't plant a lot. It sold out before anything.
Wow.
So it's also very important to not only grow what you like as a farmer. You need to do your market research. You need to identify your target market. And sometimes people will tell you that the by the time you plant something in the ground, you should already know who your customer is or who you're taking it, because you're going to sit with produce at your farm because you didn't do research. And here we don't eat okra. Why are you planting okra when the entire community doesn't plant okra, and you're not willing to export it, or you're not willing to, or you're unable to, or you can't transport it to the Joburg market or whatever? You see, now your okra is going to rot and nothing's going to happen. So do your research and find out what the people like. So for me, it was easier. Oh, also onion. It was easier because I had already seen what my dad was growing at that time, and the people eat that. So I can't go there now and plant eggplant unless if I acquire another farm in a different area, or if I acquire that farm and I know that I am going to be supplying, maybe I'm farming potatoes and I'll be supplying Simba or McCain so that they process them and do whatever. Then I'll be able to say, okay, I'm growing this not for the community or not for the market here, but for something else. So always know who you're growing, what you're growing for.
Definitely. You highlighted such an important point to understand, to do your research, because certain areas only want certain things. So guys, please do your research before you enter this.
Yeah, also with climate, when you're growing stuff, your soil, your climate, what else? Yeah, those are the factors that you need to consider, because sometimes I can try grow watermelon on this kind of soil and it won't grow because it requires this different type of soil.
Wow.
Or if you're doing research on your soil and you're doing sampling, so soil testing, you kind of try to check what minerals or nutrients are in the soil, and then once you know that, you're now able to know what nutrients and minerals and whatever the crop that you're trying to grow requires.
Yes,
and
definitely.
If your soil doesn't have that, then you know that if the soil lacks phosphate or nitrogen, you're able to go buy a fertilizer that has phosphate or nitrogen, and you try to boost that soil, and the crop that you're trying to grow can grow. But research is very important. It's more of a science than anything. So
Definitely. And to keep things light and take it back to the lighter note,
Okay.
What was anything that, like, the funniest thing that ever happened on the farm, the most unusual, funniest thing that you have experienced so far?
The funniest thing, it might just be like when kids are in the mud, or like when they're playing the mud, whatever. You're like, what are you even doing there? Go get cleaned up or whatever. But normally, you always, right now you can tell I'm also a bit serious, because farming does force you to be serious at times. So we hardly get funny moments. But when the thing of, men trying to like take advantage of you and everything when you're in the business was happening, it was actually funny, because I told my cousin about it, right? And we were at the farm picking tomatoes, and he was like, my girl, I was playing Ibongi too. I was like, what tuba are you bonging? Because they are calling you to come through there. So I thought that was very funny, and I thought that was very funny. I don't know.
At least you can keep it light and fun on the farm while you guys
There's
are still working.
nothing else you can do. You need to keep a very light mind. Otherwise, these things are going to weigh you down, because challenges are always going to be there. Because sometimes I can say it's a male thing and whatever, but you can be a man seeking an opportunity from a woman, and they can expect like something else that you're not willing to give out in return. So it's it's not that deep.
Yeah,
It's
no, I
like,
get
but it needs to stop. But like, yeah,
It does need
so
to
that
stop
was
on a
very
serious
funny.
note.
Yeah, because you made it a joke, but nah, we don't really laugh about stuff
I hear
like
you.
that.
And I think everyone is also very curious to know, is there money in farming? Is it profitable? Do you guys actually make money in farming?
I'm broke, guys. I'm very broke. There's a lot of money. There's a lot of money. Like I told you, the more stuff you grow, the more money you make. But if you're growing 10,000 times 100, I think that's a million. Yeah, it is a million.
Look at that. So it can be profitable.
Just from 10,000, and you're probably going to sell that cabbage for way more money. So it's like with your other things, like people who are in Forex will tell you that in Forex, you make more money if you have more money in the account. So if I enter a trade and I have 100 rands in the account and someone else has 10,000 rands, I'm going to enter with a lower lot size. It's the same with farming. I'm going to enter with less heads of cabbage, and then someone with 10,000 rands account is going to enter with a bigger lot size. So if my lot size is 0.01 and their lot size is 1, if we enter the trade at the same time and I make 10 rand, that person already made like 1,000, you know. So if I grew, no matter how good the quality is, but I grew 5 cabbages here and someone grew 50,000 cabbages there, I'm selling mine for 50 rands. They're selling it for like 50,000 rands. So what's important is that young people get like support, funding. If you see like someone is doing well and then what they're doing, they're passionate, they are willing to take the risks and they're willing to put in the work, then give them the money and they will get the money.
Definitely.
Yeah. So there is money in farming, and the government is always trying to say, okay, can the young people come through and whatever? Because I remember in Cape Town when I first started talking about farming, some people even laugh. Like they, I mean, the most of the time it's the wine farms that side, you know. Not the ones where you get way more dirty and stuff. But eventually they got to see that, oh, okay. So the government, this social security, whatever, SASA, I forgot what that one stands for. There's the Department of Agriculture and Land Reform. There's Land Bank. There is YARD, which is Youth in Agriculture. There's municipalities, so they're willing to give out money, but you need to work, because I can't give you 100,000 rands right now if you haven't done anything and you give me a business plan that this is what I want to do. What do you mean? What have you done so far that I can see and trust you with the money that I'm going to give you? Because what if I give you this money now and you lose it tomorrow? Because that's how business works. So,
definitely.
Yeah.
And then lastly, Antoinette, if there's any advice that you can give a young farmer or someone who's starting out with farming, go for it. Tell us if there's anything you would change, anything you would keep the same, and just motivate them.
I wouldn't change anything, because I feel like all my experiences are learning curves. So in every experience, good or bad, I'm always learning. I'm always learning, you know. And sometimes you are going to feel like, why is this happening to you? It must happen to you because you're learning something from that. That's why I told you experience is very important, because even if I try to explain to you now, this interview, someone might listen to it and not like get anything. But if they go in and try it out themselves, they'll actually learn more, because I don't know what happens with experience. I don't know how it alters your mind, but just experiencing the thing and going through it actually does teach you. So I really wouldn't change anything. All the good and bad, everything has been very interesting. I'm so excited to like grow and stuff. But what I will say to people is that your persistence. you just have to like stick to whatever it is that you want to do long enough, because as an entrepreneur, farming is not the only thing that I aim to pursue. So even when I go into like other business fields, you just need to have that mindset, like that hunger, that I want to make it. And when you start something, you need to finish it, no matter how long it takes. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time and you're just stressing yourself, not getting any reward from all the things that you're doing, and eventually obviously we're gonna be like, oh, but this person used to be so ambitious, so smart. What happened? It took a toll on your mental health, and you didn't see any results on everything that you were working on. You gave up, and yeah, you just have to keep going. Go out there, talk to people, network, attend events, foster, like just force, ask questions, ask for help. It's very important to ask for help. You know nothing. I know nothing. There's nothing I know, but I learn every day. Also, be teachable. It's also very important. When someone is teaching you something, you need to be teachable, because if you're not teachable, you're going to miss important information because you think you know, you don't know. And that's the best thing you should understand in business. When you go in, you don't know. You're always like at a level where you can learn more, where you can expand. And we really need to start treating farming as a business. Like I told you, that even though my parents or my grandparents used to farm at that time, it wasn't necessarily like a scaling up kind of thing, but we now have agri-tech. And you find local farmers in my community still saying that, oh no, we don't enter our farm on a Sunday. And I'm like, bruh, we're farming with drones now. What do you mean? Like those things that we're dealing with business here. We're not like playing games. So, you know, agri-tech is here. Look into the innovations that exist right now. We have your vertical farming, where it includes like your aeroponics, aquaponics, hydroponics. You know, there are different like type of farming practices that don't use soil, but some use air, you just spray the roots. Some use water, like, and some use like fish waste and whatever. So you don't need soil, and because of sustainability, population growing, we need to actually grow more food. We actually need more farmers. So young people need to come in. We need more farmers, because by 2050, I think the world's population is going to be 9 billion, but farmers are actually declining every day. Farmers are leaving. Crazy. And young people still don't have land, but if you work hard enough, you will get the land. I'm also like, you know, but yeah, you need to explore those innovations. Robotics, where you also like your apps that helps with like certain things, certain challenges that exist in robotics, like harvesting robots. I know it's going to take jobs, but we've been doing this from first industrial revolution even to the fourth one right now. So your robotics, your weed identifying robots that get rid of weeds or pests or stuff like that. So you should really like be looking at where you're going in the next 25 years, not just now. And I know environment can be a factor. It can affect like your motivation and how you think. I see it with me also, because most of the time, if you're doing something, people are just like intimidated and they're like, what's going on? But in my head, I'm like, but let's work, you know, because we have these resources. The youth of 76 didn't die for like us to just, you know, be scared. We need to also be brave the same way they were. So yeah, we need to look at this thing as a business, and Africa should be supplying the entire world, exporting everything, taking like showing our potential. Need to work together, work with people, network, learn, ask questions.
Definitely.
But most importantly, just keep going, because at some point one day, no matter how tough it is, it'll be fine. I'm
Lovely.
sure.
Thank you so much for that, Antoinette.
Okay.
And then if anyone wants to get a hold of you, whether it's businesses that want to work with you, how do people get in touch with you? Yeah, how can they reach out?
Okay, so on Instagram, I'm Antoinette Matubule. Matubule and is my first name. Antoinette is actually my second name, and my surname is Molopo. So you can just say Antoinette Matubule. I think I normally use that username on my social media platforms, those two names. And then my company name is Karoyama Farms, which stands for Karoyama Humo Aga. So and it's Betty. In English, it means the builder of my wealth.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and so So you can also just check out my social media profiles. On TikTok, there's only one. That's just Antoinette Madubule. On Instagram, there's Antoinette Madubule, and my farming pages, which is Caro_Yam_farms. Don't have Twitter yet. Not strong enough for that. Still building my. I'm joking. And then what else? On Facebook, there's also Caro Yama Farms and Antoinette Madubule, and yeah, on LinkedIn, there's also Antoinette Madubule or Antoinette Molopo. So yeah.
Thank you so much for that. And Antoinette, thank you so much for joining us today and giving us so much feedback on how it is to farm and what it takes, and for motivating the youth and being such a strong-willed individual, a female that is fighting in the young farming industry. So I acknowledge you for that and congratulate you. And you are doing amazing things. So keep pushing and keep going.
Thank you so much for having me. This was really fun.
It really was.
Yeah.
It really was. And thank you so much to the audience at home for tuning in and watching Young Farmers. I'm your host Tashlin Lowe, and this was Antoinette, and please stay tuned for the next one. Until next time, bye.